So who remembers Stitch? You know, the really big bad guy from Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War? Like the one who was the leader of Perseus at the end, the one that you hunted down for seasons and then seemingly shot? Well, number one, we found out about a couple days ago that he was not shot and he was being held prisoner in a prison in Iceland. Well, today we got the season 4 cutscene, and as it turns out, he's now friends with Russel Adler. Let me play the cutscene and then we'll break it down so I can explain to you the full story of season 4. It gets a little confusing, but one thing I will say is the cutscene's pretty cool.
Yes, I'll copy.
In position. This asshole better be worth all the effort.
He's not. Hudson's intel is our key to the Pantheon puzzle.
If we can't crack those code names, we're never going home.
Pulling the plug in 3.
Adler. You took your time.
Now, I want to start off by explaining there is a lot about this cutscene that doesn't make a lot of sense, but here's what I will say. The only way it does make sense is if all of our main characters in the game are still rogue Black Ops agents. They are not working for the CIA. It's the only way that this makes sense, because where they are going here is a prison named Camp Zeta, which is a CIA prison, which Russel Adler took Stitch after the events of 1984 and put him in this prison essentially for safekeeping, because he knew that one day he might need some of the knowledge that Stitch has on either Perseus or something else altogether, like we are finding out here. Now, just going back a little bit, just a little bit of backstory on Stitch. First of all, they were old enemies from a very long time ago. In fact, in the 1960s, Stitch worked on Rebirth Island. So when the raid on Rebirth Island happened, where Alex Mason went in there and killed Frederick Steiner, Stitch was on that island creating Nova 6 gas. The person to take him in was, of course, Russel Adler. He would interrogate him, stab him in the eye to try to get information. However, when Stitch was sent back to Russia, he was imprisoned by Russia themselves. Why? Because he let down Kravchenko. So he was abandoned by his allies, and the person that would come to save him would be Perseus. He then became a Perseus agent and allegiant to them because of being rescued out of prison. Yes, history is repeating itself, but in a different way. So after this, Stitch would take prisoner Russel Adler and essentially try to use the number sequence similar to Alex Mason to brainwash him. However, Jason Hudson and Alex Mason would get their hands on, run a deprogramming sequence, again similar to Alex Mason, and once again save him. They would then track down Stitch, and we thought that he got shot, but as it turns out, Russel Adler imprisoned him.
My broadcast was complete. I have changed the world, Adler. In ways you can't even imagine.
So here we are 8 years later in 1992 on January 8th. We can see Savati Dumas here placing a bomb at a power plant in Iceland. Keep in mind, this is not the prison. What she is doing here is planting a bomb to turn the power off at the prison. The next person that we see, being Russel Adler, he is at the prison, and we can see that it's called Camp Zeta, and this is a CIA black site prison. Now, this is obviously where Russel Adler put Stitch, but the weird thing is they fully attack the prison. Like, they are killing CIA agents, which is super weird because really the only time they did that is when they were Pantheon agents. So we can only assume that somehow they know these are rogue CIA agents, so they have no trouble killing them whatsoever. So the next thing we get to see is that Stitch is in his cell reading. He is patiently, seemingly waiting for what is about to happen next. He closes his book, picks up his mask, and he doesn't have a hood this time, so that is why he looks a little bit different. Kind of like a crossover between Bane and the Punisher is pretty much the best explanation of all of it. But as you can see, the prison, the lights are completely out, and we have Russel Adler moving in, and then the next person that we see is Troy Marshall. Troy Marshall actually fires seemingly a Valkyrie rocket at the responding CIA agents who are going to the prison. He destroys them, and that is essentially that. Now, what's interesting is that Troy Marshall is working alongside this character. I do not recognize this character. I don't know who it is. However, they are wearing an FBI jacket, and that is something I don't think have ever seen in at least a Black Ops game. So maybe the FBI getting pulled into the story alongside the CIA as well. So the rest of this cutscene is essentially them breaking into the prison, taking out the guards, and working their way inside. And you can see a bunch of the various different operators, including Troy Marshall. However, once the explosion goes off and we actually get inside, there is an incredibly important line we need to pay attention to, and it is this.
Adler, you took your time.
First things first, attention to detail. I love that they put in the same Stitch noise that they used back in Black Ops Cold War. This is the first time Stitch is introduced. And this is the noise when they put him into this trailer.
Adler, you took your time.
Now, there are two potential reasons why Stitch could possibly be saying, Adler, you took your time. Either way, Stitch knew that at some point Adler would be coming. So if we go back to the very end of like the Warzone Verdansk 84 story, when he was captured, we assume shot, but now we know captured, he could have told Stitch at that point that I'm not gonna kill you because one day I might need your help. And then this is then Stitch saying, okay, I've been waiting for you all this time. It's been 8 years. I thought you'd be coming sooner than this. In fact, if we go to the blog post that they put out today, the one line that they read to us is, and now the day has come. A deal with the devil has been made as Adler needs Stitch to help crack the code names needed to identify and capture the Pantheon moles. Now, if you don't know what's going on there, essentially what you need to know is in the Season 3 cutscene, we found out that there was a tape that was given by Jason Hudson before his untimely demise that had information on Pantheon, where they were, how they were there all the way through Black Ops 1, even the events of Black Ops 2, and all the way into 1991. And as it turns out, this entire transmission has been coded in some sort of Russian code that Stitch knows, and for some reason, no one else. Hence why Adler needs to rely on him. So a deal has been made with the devil. But there is also another option that I haven't brought up yet. Remember the last line that Stitch said to Russel Adler in that Verdansk 84 cutscene?
My broadcast was complete. I have changed the world, Adler. In ways you can't even imagine.
And that option is, what if Russel Adler is still brainwashed? He is the one making the decision to break him out of the prison. What if this is the wrong decision? What if he is still brainwashed? That is option number 2. But either way, no matter whether it's option 1 or option 2, there is one thing that we know. We are hunting down Pantheon. There is some secret Russian decoding that needs to be decoded, and we are using Stitch to do so. And either way, whether or not it is brainwashing or not, Russel Adler and Stitch are now fighting on the same side. They are friends, they are allies, and old enemies, all at the same time.
Adler, you took your time.